This Film is Lit, the podcast where we finally settle the score on one simple question. Is the book really better than the movie? I'm Brian, and I have a film degree, so I watch the movie, but don't read the book.
And I'm Katie. I have an English degree, so I do things the right way and read the book before we watch the movie.
So prepare to be wowed by our expertise and charm as we dissect all of your favorite film adaptations and decide if the silver screen or the written word did it better. So turn it up, settle in, and get ready for spoilers, because this film is lit. Sometimes dead is better. I'm pretty sure he was talking about this movie. It's Pet Sematary, and this film is lit. Hello and welcome back to some number of episodes of This Film is Lit, the podcast where we talk about movies that are based on books. This week's episode, we are discussing Stephen King's Pet Sematary and the 2019, currently in theaters, remake of Pet Sematary. Katie?
Yeah.
You had a little something you wanted to mention.
Okay, so
here.
Pet Sematary, as you mentioned, it's out in theaters right now. So obviously this episode will be full of spoilers. So if you were planning to see the movie, I have two suggestions for you. My first suggestion is to not waste your money seeing this movie. But if you're really set on it, then my other suggestion is to wait on listening to the rest of this episode.
Yes, because there will be spoilers abound. I want to mention, before we get started, that I was not feeling well when we went and saw this movie, and I missed like about 15 to 20 minutes of it. But I saw most of it, just missed a chunk of the beginning.
You didn't
the
miss
first
much.
15 minutes or so, I did not see. But I came back and I saw like the rest of the movie. So there may be things that I'm misremembering or mistaken on. Yeah. We'll see. But that's my my warning before we get into it. The movie did not make me feel better, I will say that. Let's get to our first segment, Let Me Sum Up. In Let Me Sum Up, we briefly outline the plot of both the book and the movie, so if you haven't seen them and don't care to, you're kind of caught up on what's going on. You have a little bit of a background. So, Katie, I'm going to close my ears and not listen so that I'm not spoiled for later segments, and you're going to explain the plot of the book.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
All right, Pet Sematary by Stephen King. Dr. Lewis Creed moves his family, wife Rachel, and two young children, Ellie and Gage, from Chicago to the backwoods of Maine. When they arrive, they meet their elderly neighbor, Judd, and discover two things. 18-wheelers often whiz by on the road, and in the woods near their home is a pet cemetery, a place used by locals for the past several decades. Things are mostly fine until Thanksgiving, when Ellie's cat Church is hit in the road and dies. Before anyone else can discover this, Judd shows Lewis a burial ground deeper in the woods, past the pet cemetery. Lewis doesn't think much of it until Church returns, alive but not quite the same. He's more violent towards small animals, but Lewis manages to ignore this and keep his secret. Tragedy strikes again a few months later when Gage is struck in the road and killed. Overcome with grief, Lewis digs up his son's body and reburies it in the same place he'd buried Church. But when Gage returns, he doesn't seem to be Gage at all. He kills two people before Lewis kills him again, and then Lewis makes one more trip to the burial ground.
All right, so that was the book, and now for me to try to sum up this movie, or talk about what happens in this movie. This family, Creed family, I think, is moving to the countryside, the Maine-ish countryside, into the woods of Maine, out of the city. He's the father is a doctor. The wife, I don't know if she works. I assume she works, but we don't ever see what she does. They have two kids, a girl probably like 6 or something named Ellie, and then a boy who's much younger, like a toddler, named Gage, I think.
Yeah.
So they end up in this kind of remote house out in the woods in Maine. When they get there, this is the part, again, that I missed most of this. I assume they meet their neighbor, Judd, who's kind of played by John Voight, who's kind of a strange loner guy. Again, I missed all this setup. At one point, a student gets hit by a car and killed, and like comes back to life in front of the doctors trying to save him, and the kid like comes back to life, and then he has visions of him for a while in the movie. Basically, at some point, to get right into the meat of it, from where I watched, the cat, they have a cat named Church who eventually gets hit by a car, and the daughter loves the cat, and Judd has taken a shining to their daughter, really likes her. And doesn't want her to be sad, so he takes the dad with the dead cat out into the woods, past the pet cemetery, to another cemetery. I don't know, some other place, some other grounds where the ground is sour, and they bury the cat. The whole time he doesn't tell the dad what they're doing. Judd just like, do this, come here, walk 8 miles into the woods with me, and we'll bury this cat. And the next day, the cat comes back, but he's a little bit off. And there's some shenanigans with the cat, and they don't know what to do about it because the cat's kind of just does something wrong with the cat. Ultimately, he wants to kill it, but he can't. The dad's like, I'm going to kill it with some drug. He's going to put it to sleep. Decides he can't do that, so he just leaves it out in the middle of nowhere. Cat comes back, causes an accident. During the birthday party for the daughter. The birthday. Also, this whole time there's a subplot with the mom where she had a sister who was bedridden from some sort of disease that made her deformed of some, I don't know. And she died, fell down a dumbwaiter shaft when she was a little girl, and left there with the mom character was there when her sister died. And so she sucks at dealing with death. So they didn't want to tell the girl that the cat died. So that's all irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It's all important thematically. But so the mom doesn't like dealing with that. Anyways, cut back to the birthday party. The cat shows up. The girl's excited because they thought it just ran away. They told her it ran away when the dad took it and left it. And she runs out to the street to greet it. At the same time, the little boy runs out in the street after her. The dad runs and saves the little boy from getting hit by a truck, because the kind of whole premise, the whole setup for this is they live on this remote road where these trucks fly by really fast and hit things and kill animals and stuff all the time. And he runs out. He saves the son from being hit by the truck, but the truck swerves and flies, and some crazy stuff happens, and the trailer flies off somehow. I'm pretty sure none of that makes any sense, like in reality. But trailer flies off, hits the little girl, kills her. Tragedy, sadness. Also, at this point, he's learned that the guy, Judd, who took him out into the woods and showed him where to bury the cat, is like, oh yeah, that happens. They come back bad. And he's like, why did we do that? It's like, I don't know. And then so he knows things come back messed up, but he's so grief-ridden and he can't deal with death. And he can't he can't cope with the death of his daughter and that sort of thing. So he takes her out into the woods after drugging Judd, buries her. She comes back, turns into a crazy serial killer because she's wrong now, and she kills everybody. And then she kills the mom, and then the mom gets buried and comes back like instantly and kills the dad. And then the dad dies and comes back, and then they go and kill the kid. And now they're all one big happy dead family. The end? I think I got most of it.
I don't know, man. This movie was kind of a mess.
It was not good. I did not enjoy it. So, that's the rough rough description of what happened in the movie. I missed a lot of things, I'm sure. Like I said, there were a handful of things that I just didn't see because I missed it. But that's roughly what goes on. All right, let's get in. We do not have Guess Who this week.
Yeah.
Because they're not
there's like bits and pieces of description here and there, but not a whole lot. There also aren't that many characters.
Okay.
So it would be a little bit moot, I feel like.
All right. Well, then let's skip Guess Who and get right into who's that in the book?
Nicholas Flamel is the only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone.
The what?
Honestly, don't you two read?
All right. First thing is this whole backstory with the Emily, Rachel, what's her name? Rachel, the wife in this family, the mother. Does she have this whole backstory with her sister who's bedridden, who she was forced to take care of and then died, and that's why she can't deal with death? Is that? And did her sister die in a dumbwaiter? The whole sister thing.
She did have a bedridden sister named Zelda when she was a kid. And Zelda died, I believe, of multiple sclerosis.
Okay.
Which is why her back was all like twisted.
Okay.
I feel like the movie maybe like
amped up, like
embellished maybe what that looks like, because it looked like she was growing like dinosaur spines.
Yeah,
maybe
I don't know. I don't know.
However, Zelda does not die in a dumbwaiter.
She doesn't fall down a dumbwaiter.
No.
Okay, because that felt very much like they wanted a way for her to die that was scarier than just she's sick and she died. But that I could be right. That's just what it. Multiple sclerosis I would say multiple sclerosis is just a degenerative nerve nervous system disease. Like it
I could be misremembering what it was in the book.
She could have some form of I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff she could, but yeah, multiple sclerosis is not, and I don't think it's normally a kid thing either. I think it's normally an adult thing. I think you might be, but I could be wrong. But you might be misremembering the exact diagnosis there. Anyways, so she had a sister died, but the dumbwaiter thing does not happen. Probably explicitly added for jump scares.
Yeah, it would appear so.
Predictable jump scares.
Yeah.
Okay. I am actually a little surprised, though, honestly, that that backstory's in there at all. Although looking at the book, I guess I shouldn't be, because it's a lot longer of a book than
it's a pretty hefty
I sort of
book.
thought it was. I guess for some reason in my head, like I said in the prequel episode, I knew nothing about the first movie. I knew nothing about this book, and so going into this movie, I knew nothing of what this story is really about, other than like pets, you bury a pet and it comes back to life.
Yeah.
Like that was all I kind of really knew about it. So,
and it operates thematically the same way.
Yeah.
In the book,
in terms of
she has this like trauma from her past where she can't deal with death in a healthy way. Yeah.
That's kind of the whole point of the whole book, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's kind of the point of the movie, but
I want to talk about it more later.
We'll get there later. Okay. How far away is... Okay, well, first, I guess I should ask is... So in the movie, at least from what... Again, I missed this probably where maybe this was explained, but in the movie, when we see them bury Church, they go to the cemetery, and then they go past the cemetery, up like some tree bramble thing.
Yeah, the deadfall.
The deadfall. And then they walk through a swamp, and it seems like they walk like miles and miles into the woods. And I was confused because I thought it was just at the pet cemetery. Like, I thought they just did this at the pet cemetery.
No.
Is that the same way in the book?
Yeah.
Is it a separate...
It's two separate places. And they do walk a good bit in the book. I think they say the pet cemetery is like 20 minutes away from their house or something. And then the burial ground is even further past the deadfall. That's
weird to me. I guess it's not, because it would have to be a different place, because then all the pets would just come back. But in my head, just based on the title of the book and the cultural osmosis of it, I thought the Pet Sematary just was the place where, like, this was a specific pet cemetery where when you buried pets there, they came back to life.
I mean, that makes sense, because, like, all I knew about it was that the pets come back to life.
Yeah. And so that's what I thought. And I was like, oh, no, it's some other thing. Okay, which we'll talk about a little more in Lost in Adaptation, because I just wanted to see how much more the book goes into it than maybe the movie did. And it just... maybe it's the editing in the film, but I thought that was really... Like, I guess I get why it's far away, but it felt... I was like... It just really annoyed me when we were watching the movie, and I'm like, why are we watching them walk through the woods for, like, 20 minutes? Like, what purpose is this serving narratively other than, like, it's far away? But that doesn't matter that it's far away. I don't know. It's not even a point. It's just something that, to me, if I'm making that movie, I cut them walking for 30 minutes through the woods, because I'm just like, that's not interesting. That's not, like, the fact that it's far away doesn't do anything for me. I don't know. And it's a little thing, but it's just like, I was, again, also, to be fair, I wasn't in a great headspace of just sitting, like, I was like not feeling well, and I'm like, why are we watching them walk through the woods? It's not even scary. Like, they're just walking through the woods. Like, I guess it's a little creepy, but like...
I'll say that those parts, I think, are more interesting in the book. And I think maybe that's something that, like, really didn't translate. that like they kept it the same for some reason, where you're like with them the whole time they're walking.
Yeah.
But it's not, like, it doesn't have the same impact that it does in the book.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I want to preface all of this by saying I wasn't feeling well, so I was not particularly receptive to this film. But Katie also didn't like it, so. In the book, does Judd know about this? Does he know things come back? And does he show Lewis how to bring the cat back?
Yes, Judd is the one who shows him how to bring the cat back. He does know that it brings things back.
And does he know that they come back wrong?
Well, he says his dog in the book only came back, like, kind of dumb. So he thought it might be the same case for Church.
Oh, okay.
He tells him there's a couple other examples that the movie kind of, like, briefly showed blips of.
Well, I remember the story about the bull.
There's more to that in the book. And the bull, he says, is the only animal he knows of that came back mean.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a more, like, detailed example about a person that was buried there.
Okay, to be fair, that makes way more sense for why he would show him and have him do this.
Yeah.
Because in the movie, Judd, without explaining any of this, unless I missed it in the first part, but it seems like the Creed or Lewis has no idea where they're going or why or what they're doing, right? In the movie.
No, he doesn't explain it in the book either.
Okay, so they go and he walks him out here. He goes, bury the cat here, and then the cat comes back and is all mean and weird and different. And after that, Judd explains, yeah, that happened to my dog. It was also mean and awful and came back messed up. I thought maybe it would be different because that cat's a cat. Like, but see, it makes more sense in the book if, like, yeah, sometimes maybe some of them come back mean and weird, but like my dog, which is like kind of dumb, like it was still there. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's a thing where I can understand why he would show him this then. Whereas if his only experience, like it is in the movie, is that my dog came back angry and mean, and he kind of hand waves it away by going, well, the dog was always kind of mean, but clearly it came back more mean than what he was used to.
Yeah, in the book with his dog, like the implication is more that it comes back like almost like a benign zombie.
Right.
Like he describes it as being like a living piece of meat. He's just kind of there and he's kind of dumb.
Yeah. But see, some dogs are already like that. So like that's not, I mean, like some dogs are just kind of like that. Now I guess, you could argue that some dogs are just kind of mean, but I don't know. Anyways, like, that makes a lot more sense to me. Him knowing that, because it was really annoying to me I found it really strange and that we didn't get a satisfactory answer for why Judd was like, all right, I'm just going to show you how to do this, not tell you anything. And, the only time that I know about this being done, it was bad.
Yeah.
That in the book version makes more sense where it's like, it might not be bad, but at least it'll be bad. You know, like it. Yeah. Okay. There's a specific line, I referenced it in the intro, but it's also in like all the trailers and stuff. John Boyd's character, Judd, says, sometimes dead is better.
That is
in the book.
Yeah,
okay.
It's one of the book's more iconic lines,
I think it was in the first movie, too. It sounds
Probably.
like culturally it resonated with me when I heard him say it. And I was like, I feel like I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was wondering if it was maybe like a first movie thing or if it was, in fact, a book thing. And it is, in fact, a book thing. Cool. Does the daughter get hit by a truck and die?
No.
Ellie. No.
It's his son in the book.
Oh, so that was their subversion in the movies.
Yes.
You think, like, the kid runs out and their Gage runs out in the street, and it looks like he's about to get hit by the truck, but then the dad saves him. So they're just kind of switching it up on you a little bit.
A little bit.
I also think for what they're wanting to do and this direction they decided to go in the movie with making her, like, this weird, vindictive, like, killer, it makes more sense for a girl that can talk.
I think there are a couple. Yeah, it makes more sense. I have a note about that later.
Yeah.
On switching that. But it is his like 2-year-old son in the book.
Which that could then it turns into Chucky.
Exactly.
It turns into Chucky if they do go.
Not that this movie wasn't horror trope soup, but
yeah. All right. Does he kill Judd? Parentheses. Oh, never mind. He didn't kill Judd. He just drugged him so that he could bring back his daughter. When we were watching this movie, when he goes over to Judd's after his daughter dies,
Yeah.
and they have a drink together, and he puts something in Judd's drink, and Judd, like, I thought was having a heart attack, is what I read that scene as, but it turns out he was just, like, drugged him to knock him out.
Yeah.
But like we don't ever nothing happened. It's not resolved. And Judd's or the dad's reaction to it, the way that scene's played out made me feel like he was murdering him. Like he was that angry at Judd because Judd is upset basically in the scene saying it's my fault because if the cat didn't come back, blah blah blah, none of this would have happened. And I thought that the dad was kind of on the same lines and thus blamed him for his daughter being dead. And so I thought he literally was killing him.
No, that part was weird.
It will, and again, because the dad the guy's like, Judd's like, I wish I hadn't shown you that, and the dad goes, but you did, and he says it in this weird way of like he's angry, and like I was like, oh shit, he's gonna kill him, like he poisoned him right now, like he fucking gave him a heart attack, which would be an interesting thing, but no, he just drugged him. Does that happen?
No.
Okay.
Judd just falls asleep while he's waiting and watching for Lewis to come back because he suspects that he's going to try to bring Gage back. And it's overwhelmingly implied that the power of the burial ground keeps Judd from being able to keep himself awake. The burial ground is like a whole bigger thing, kind of, in the book.
Interesting. Okay. Then in the book, does Gage come back? Does he bury Gage and bring him back?
Yes.
Because my question originally was the daughter, but obviously we know at this point that it was the son. And does Gage then become a crazy serial killer?
I mean, he does come back, not himself. He does murder. In the movie, I felt like there was like this... I don't know. It didn't have the same like vibe to it to me when she comes back as I got from the book.
I guess one of the ways it could be is that in the movie when she comes back and is a killer, she like is Gage like, because is he the same age in the book? Is he like supposed to be like 2 or like a toddler?
Yeah, he's like a toddler.
How is he killing people? Anyways, well, I guess we'll talk about that. But he in the movie, she's like shit talking her mom and stuff.
Right.
Does that happen at all? Like with Gage? Like, is he like come back? Is he like a mean little shit? Like while he's murdering? Yeah.
Yeah, he is. The book, I feel like, plays it more like he was like possessed by something.
That's kind of how I felt like it was in the movie.
I felt like in the movie she was just like a really fucking mean murder version of herself.
Well, I don't know. I read it as kind of possessed. Like, I mean, not possessed. I read it as she came back like some just wrong. And as like, I don't know if possessed is the right word, but like she's just like a weird evil demon version of herself, which I don't know. So it is similar at least then.
Yeah, it's similar.
Okay. Because that felt completely different to me. Or that felt like absolutely something that they would have just done in the movie, but I guess not. Like, that is kind of what happens in the book a little bit.
Yeah, well, like in the book, it's that he's like, it's not him, it's the spirit of the burial ground, and like the spirit of the Wendigo, which they mention briefly in the movie. But it's more of an element in the book.
Interesting.
Whereas I said, I read the little girl more as like, oh, she's like the bad seed or whatever now.
Okay, yeah, that is fair. That is what I was thinking. Like, it definitely, I didn't read her as like not her. I just read her as like some weird evil, like maybe possessed, but also her version of herself, because she's saying things like, "I wish mom wasn't here," and she's still speaking like it's her, but like. And she like dances and stuff and does stuff.
Yeah, whereas in the book, when Gage comes back, he's like talking like a fully grown person. I
guess, and she does that a little bit. 'Cause, like, she says things that, obviously she wouldn't say. I don't know. Huh. Interesting. I gotta admit, I was just really bored by this movie. So I'm having a hard time just remembering even what, because I just found it incredibly boring. I think maybe the worst of all, I just found it really boring.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I didn't care about any of the characters. I didn't care about anything going on. So when all this is happening at the end, I had very little like motivation to care what she was saying and why. Like I was just like, she's evil. Just fucking kill, get it over. I don't know how this is going to end, but just end. Like, I'm not interested in this. And that's also probably a little bit of just, I couldn't, my biggest problem with the movie, and I don't want to derail entirely here, I think, was that I didn't understand what the stakes were necessarily for, or like what the goals of the characters were, other than like, especially once the little girl became possessed. Before that, I was on board. I got it. You know, like his dead. He's going to bring her back. I got all that. But like once the little girl came back all messed up, I was like, well, what are we doing here? What's the end game of this scenario? Like a lot of times in a horror movie, there's a goal. Okay, well, this evil thing happened and or these evil monster is attacking us. We need to do this to defeat the monster, or we need to get away by doing this, or we need to exorcise the demon or something. In this, there was no goal. Like, there was nothing that they could do. So I didn't know what the dad's goal was other than he was going to kill her. And, like, by that, I mean, I could see the sort of parallel in the sense of, like, if that's what happened, like, if he does manage to kill her in the movie, that it's, you know, sort of symbolic of him finally, like, letting her die, moving on. If he's able to kill her, like, even though it's not really her sort of thing, like, I was thinking that might make sense, but then the movie goes a completely different direction with the ending, so, like, it doesn't go that way. Yeah. I mean, he is going to kill her, but then he gets killed, and then it's just like, everybody's dead. So, like, I just didn't know, like, I didn't know what the little girl's goal was. Like, I didn't know, like, the possessed, like, she didn't have a goal, I guess. She was just kind of, like, evil. Like, she was just like, I'm going to kill all these people because... It all felt so ill-defined and boring. I don't know. I don't even feel like I'm talking, like what I'm saying makes sense. I didn't like this movie.
I didn't either. Do you want to just move on to your next question?
Yeah, let's just move on. And at the end, what I just mentioned, do they all just become a happy undead family?
They do not. That's not in the book.
Okay. Cool, because that was dumb.
Yeah.
That was dumb.
I have more on that later.
I thought that was dumb. Okay, let's move on to Lost in Adaptation.
Just show me the way to get out of here, and I'll be on my way.
Is it lost?
Yes, and I want to get unlost as soon as possible.
All right, so this is kind of... it doesn't need to be explained in the movie. My question is, why does the burial ground bring things back to life? It's very satisfactory for me to just be like, it does. It doesn't matter. I'm just kind of wondering if we get any more in the movie than we get in the book. And now there might have been more, any more in the book than we get in the movie. There might have been more at the beginning when they were talking about it that I missed. Like, because I assume they discussed the cemetery or something. I don't know. Anyways, but I remember there's one part with the book and the Wendigo or whatever.
Yeah.
But I that was like a brief thing that I barely remember. So what in the book, do we get any more information about what's going on here and why these
we get a lot more information, actually. So the movie hand waves this idea of, like, Native American burial ground. They show that briefly when he's doing, like, a Google search. They briefly show the Wendigo in the book. In the book, it's more explicitly... I don't know if I'm saying this right, Micmac. The book spells it M-I-C-M-A-C.
Okay.
When I looked online, I think a more proper, correct spelling of it is M-I-K-M-A-Q.
Okay.
But I couldn't find, like, a pronunciation guide that I trusted.
Right.
So in the book, it's a Micmac burial ground, which is a native tribe to that part of Maine.
Okay.
And the book tells us that they used to use that burial ground, but during a hard winter, dug up remains and ate them.
Oh.
So from then on, the ground was sour and it was cursed by the Wendigo, which is a malevolent force in Algonquin folklore.
Okay.
It's like a monster who warns against taboos about, like, greed and murder and cannibalism.
Gotcha.
So in the book, this is like an extremely powerful force that's very adept at getting what it wants and at kind of fooling people into thinking that everything will turn out okay if they bury their dead there. And this is one of many places that I think the movie fails because it doesn't want to commit to the Native American burial ground thing. So it just vaguely shows it when he's looking through that book, but like you can't have it halfway.
Yeah.
I think you either have to go for it and be creative and do your goddamn research and find a less problematic way to include a cursed Native American burial ground in your horror movie.
Yeah.
Or you have to do something else entirely.
Yeah.
And like based on the promotional stuff, I thought that they were going to go more of like a Children of the Corn.
That's what it looked, because we
thing.
see those kids with the masks.
Yeah,
and then
more on them later.
Yeah, we see those kids with the masks in the trailer quite a bit. And that's what I definitely thought was going to happen, was I thought it was going to be a thing, and now I've never seen Children of the Corn. I don't do horror movies. I don't dislike them. I just don't watch that many horror movies. They're not a thing I'm super into. But what I thought from the trailers was that I think I kind of vaguely knew culturally that's something to do with Native American.
Yeah.
But I thought from the trailer that I saw that it would make sense if it was something like these kids were murdered in this part of the woods, and something horrible happened in like the 20s or whatever, you know, and it had to do with these kids with the masks, and somehow their spirits or like, and then maybe you can even bring in something like the Wendigo or some sort of demon-y type force that has taken this and is using the ground to like, you know, seek revenge upon people who harm children. Or maybe that's not the right, but you know what I mean. Like something like that was kind of what I was expecting from the trailers, and it just felt like I was never fully knew what was going on. I guess that alludes back to what I was saying earlier of just not knowing what the stakes are or what kind of the rules of this universe are, other than like Barry comes back. Okay.
Yeah. And I think like, I guess I understand why they didn't want to go the Native American burial ground route, but also like, I mean,
they do mention it,
just
don't they?
but I think like just including a couple of mentions is so much more problematic to me.
Yeah.
Like then you're just kind of alluding to it without offering any kind of explanation or education on, because the Wendigo is a thing.
Right.
Like that's a major thing within Native American folklore.
Yeah.
But they just like kind of briefly mention it, and like if you don't know what that is, then you're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing that was tough for me too is that I think you can even do that. You can kind of keep that all vague if I'm more invested in the characters in your movie. And now again, I would have to watch the first 15 minutes that I missed, but I so actively didn't care about Jason Clarke's character, the dad's character. I found him just so uninteresting and like just kind of like weirdly brooding and not like,
I just really hated his small mouth.
I don't know what it was, but just everything about him I didn't care about. And so like if you want to do this, if you're sort of abandoning the world building and the plot for the sake of thematic and like character driven stuff, like for the thematic development and for character development, that's fine. But I thought the movie didn't do that either, because again, I didn't care about this guy. The themes were subverted by how the movie ends, I felt like, because of, again, the theme of, from what I understand in the book, it's kind of generally just vaguely like nihilistic and like shitty things can happen and you just got to deal with it and sort of, and learning to sort of accept death as part of just life. And that's kind of how that all works. But the movie doesn't really do that. So it's like, well, what was the point? Like, like if you're not going to give me these cool details about how this all works and like make the plot interesting, I at least need this other thing, but then you didn't give me that other thing.
We need to have either character driven or plot driven, but we don't really have
either of them. And so I was like, so I just didn't care.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let's move on. And again, to our second question here. And you have this? I don't remember.
This is something that I added. I wanted to talk a little bit about Judd's wife, because I felt like the movie implied something that it didn't expand on.
I think I missed her entirely.
Okay.
Because I don't remember him having a wife.
All right, so I'm just going to puzzle through this.
Okay.
You missed the part at the beginning when he said that she got sick and died.
Yeah,
That's
I think
why.
So. Yeah, I was like,
all right.
What?
So his wife, Norma, is alive at the beginning of the book, but she dies partway through.
Okay.
And then when Gage kills Judd in the book, he does make insinuations about Norma, which we've already been told is something that this evil entity does when it manages to come back as a human. Now, in the movie, when Ellie is killing Judd, she briefly, like, is wearing Norma's face. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
that?
I didn't know what that meant at all. See, that old lady, I was like, I don't know who this is or what's going on.
Because we've never seen her before. We've never actually seen her. She's just
and for me, I didn't even know.
Her face. Yeah.
Bigger problem for me, I had no idea who he was even referring to. So.
And then she, like, implies that Jed did something to Norma. She says, like, you're going to burn in hell for what you did to her. But what?
I assume it's nothing, and that it's just trying to make, like, whatever sort of vague guilt he has about
Yeah.
But
well, that's what I was trying to figure out, was that if there was something earlier in the movie that I missed, or if it was a gap in storytelling, or if they were trying to do the same thing as the book, where the entity just, like, keys in on what you feel vulnerable and guilty about, and then, like, needles you on that.
Right.
But they did that without setting it up first.
I'll take I don't know, because like I said, I missed that. Where the setup would have been, I was not in the theater, so I don't know. But I don't know. I have no idea.
All right.
Maybe
I didn't figure you would have any further.
No, unfortunately, the worst possible person to ask in this particular
I was
instance.
just like, I didn't know. I feel like there are 3 possible errors here, and I didn't know which error had happened.
Well, if you saw the movie and can explain what happened there with Norma and Judd, and if there was some sort of setup for that, the sort of end confrontation between the two of them, let us know, because I'm
baffled. I don't know.
And I was not in the theater, so... There we go. That was it for Lost in Adaptation. 1 for me, 1 for Katie. Hopefully somebody out in the world has an answer. Let's move on. Finally, Katie gets to talk, the person who actually saw the whole movie, about what was better in the book.
You like to read?
Oh, yes. I love to read.
What do you like to read?
Everything.
So the book overall does a much better job of addressing, like, the themes and the anxieties that are associated with death. I think the movie's attempt at this is garbled and all over the place and erroneously averted, or subverted rather, at the end. I think that was a mistake. More on that later.
Yeah.
And what frustrated me about the movie too was that they brought up some kind of interesting ideas.
I thought they did, yeah.
But they didn't, like, see any of those ideas through, to me.
No, I mean, the ending of the movie literally, unless by reading on this is completely wrong, I'm trying to figure out a way that the ending of the movie where they're all just dead doesn't completely ruin any sort of thematic lesson.
Yeah.
I mean... Because, like, to me, again, the lesson of that the movie seems to be going for is that, you know, again, it's not subtle. I mean, the line "sometimes dead is better" is pretty overtly on the nose. It describes what the movie is going for in terms of, and again, with the Zelda storyline, a subplot about learning to deal with death, coming to terms with death, that it's a natural part of life, and it's something you kind of have to just deal with and get used to, and that. It seems to me like maybe that would be a good message if at the end of the movie, that thematically you could finish that out in the movie if the dad kills the daughter who he has brought back against her will and against against the laws of nature or what have you, has to kill his daughter, ends her. Maybe even the mom dies as a result of his actions, sort of as a quote unquote punishment. I don't know if that's, but like. The mom dies, maybe not, and then the dad's left to take care of the kid, and he now realizes that he has to sort of, that his actions of his fear, and maybe better is that the dad dies and that the mom lives, because she's the one that we've seen grappling with this weird, this trauma that she's had when she was a kid, of dealing with death and that sort of thing. So maybe she actually learns to overcome that throughout the course of this movie. Maybe that's what they did. Maybe they put the emphasis on the wrong thing. Maybe they should have switched it in the movie and the mom should have been the main character, because she does have a much more interesting backstory. The dad, what do we know about? He's a doctor. Like,
yeah.
Like if the mom who has this weird thing and can't deal with death and can't confront it, I mean, that makes way more sense. She's the one who's like, just lie and tell him that the cat's not dead. Like it's her idea. She's like, I don't want to talk to him about death. So then if it's her who's like finds out about this, and then that also is good because then the dad, I'm rewriting the whole movie because then the dad finds out from Judd about the cat and brings the cat back. And everything plays out up and for the most part the same in the beginning. And I don't want to. I'm sorry, but he brings the cat back, then realizes this is not good because the cat comes back wrong, and he kind of learns and like, oh no, we can't do this anymore. But then once the daughter dies, the mom doesn't care. She's so incapable of dealing with death because again, that's not really a character flaw we've necessarily seen with the dad, but it is absolutely one with the mom. But so when the daughter dies, she can't deal with it and now has known about this place from the dad because when he brought the cat back and they discussed it at some point or whatever. So she now knows about this. So she goes against his, without him knowing and brings the daughter back. Mm-hmm. And that results in the dad dying. And now she has to kill her daughter. And that sort of ends her whole character arc of learning to come to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she has to go and raise her kid and learn to cherish every moment with them. Like that to me is like that actually makes sense. Like thematically. That does
make sense thematically.
Again, it's probably wildly different from the book.
It is.
Clearly. But I'm just saying, like, at least from what the movie was going for, that actually, to me, makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Like, for what it seemed like the narrative would be going for. And then, yeah, she's with the kid now. That rewrite it. That's what they should have done. I don't know why they didn't do that. That's quite wild to me. Anyways, sorry.
All right.
Tangent over.
Next thing. Zelda falling down the dumbwaiter, I think could have been interesting. But as we mentioned, it just came off as a cheesy excuse for jump scares.
Yeah. It's just a generic, like, dark, scary void.
Yeah.
Creepy girl comes out of it.
Yeah, here comes the demon down the dark, scary void.
Yeah.
Judd's character development is completely missing from the movie. He cuts a much more interesting and sympathetic figure in the book.
He's slightly sympathetic in the movie. Like, he talks about at one point how, this is their daughter is like the first person he's really bonded with since his wife died, I think is what he says. So actually, I guess I did know she died. But something like that. And so, like, there's a little bit of that there that he, like, actually really cares for her or whatever. But yeah.
And then to go along with that, like kind of hand in hand with that, the movie is missing all the background info about the burial ground, not just the specific history of the ground itself, but the actual stories. And this is where we learn more about Judd, too, and his past, like the story about his dog, and then the bull, and then a soldier who was brought back.
Oh, so there was a person who was brought back.
Yes, and that person came back very wrong. And yeah, I know. And I was really surprised that the movie didn't do more with that stuff because I think they could have done some cool like flashback, kind of like storytelling scenes.
Yeah.
But it does give a much fuller picture of what happens to someone or something who is resurrected using this burial ground.
Yeah. I'm glad they did include it because, I mean, they could have, though. I mean, the movie, I was waiting for it to be over.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, like, long.
Yeah.
Again, I think if I was just, like, if I was feeling fine, I think I would have happily sat through an extra 15 minutes to kind of flesh out characters and stuff like that. Like, it was only like an hour and 30. Like, it wasn't, like...
Yeah, it wasn't long.
Get this over with, like... so, yeah, I'm surprised they didn't include a little bit more.
The journey to the burial ground... all that walking that you mentioned earlier. It's much creepier in the book. A thing that I found scariest was that when he's walking there to bury his son, there's something shrieking and laughing like right behind him. Yeah,
that's creepy. There is the one moment in the movie where when they're walking there the first time, something makes a weird noise.
Yeah.
And Judd's like, oh, it's a...
But it's not that weird of a noise. No. It's like a pretty basic woods noise.
Yeah, well, it's a little more like a person screaming, but Judd says, oh, it was a loon or whatever.
That's a reference to the book.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Does he say like does the same thing happen?
He tells them before they go in there the first time, he tells them like, oh, you're gonna hear sounds, it's just loons, and you might see some stuff, but it's just like what are they called, like the lights that you can sometimes see like in deep forests.
I don't know.
There's a name for them.
It sounds like a made-up thing.
It's will-o-wisps. It's it's a scientific phenomenon, I believe.
Never heard of that.
But it looks like you're seeing something else.
I've literally never heard of that.
Okay, yeah. Will-o-wisp is an atmospheric ghost light seen by travelers at night, especially over bogs, swamps, or marshes. There's a lot about this in urban legends and folklore and superstition. Modern science often explains them as natural phenomena such as bioluminescence or chemiluminescence caused by oxidation of phosphine, diphosphane, and methane produced by organic decay. So it's a thing that can happen.
Potentially, yeah.
But it's all over in folklore. So Judd uses this as like a way to explain away the fact that you might see things.
Gotcha.
As they're traveling there. I don't necessarily mind that they resurrected Ellie instead of Gage. I just wish that they hadn't gone so evil little girl cliche with it. The ending of the movie.
Yeah.
The ending is just so awful. Like the whole family coming back. So when we were watching this, when they all like walked up out of the woods, someone in the theater started laughing uncontrollably. Yeah. That's not a good sign for your horror movie.
Not a great sign. Yeah. So at the end, the dad is about to kill Ellie. He's like holding her down, is gonna like cut her head off with a shovel or hit her in the head with a shovel and kill her again. And as he's about to do this, and again, at this point, the mom has already been killed by Ellie, and Ellie drug her to the burial ground. I don't know how she did that through the swamp and everything, and up that hill of the deadfall of trees. Again, she kind of has like demon strength now. It seems like she's stronger than a normal 6-year-old girl. So the mom comes back, and right as he's about to kill her, the mom kills him, stabs him through the chest with I think a cemetery marker thing, like a cross or whatever, killing him. So now all 3 of them are dead, and then they bury him, and he comes back. And they had earlier in the movie had locked the son Gage, in the car and said, or the dad had and said, "Stay in here. Don't open the door for anybody." And so the final shot, all 3 of them walk out of the woods, dead together, and the guy fucking lost it.
He lost his mind.
I was also chuckling to myself, like, "Oh, really? This is what we're doing?" It's not the great ending.
Yeah.
It's not a great ending.
So here's what happens in the book. So Gage kills Judd and then kills Rachel, the mom.
Okay.
And then Lewis is able to kill Church and then kill Gage. And then we think that everything is going to be okay and he learns his lesson. And then the epilogue ends with resurrected Rachel putting her hand down on his shoulder. So we know that he didn't really learn his lesson.
Oh, so he tried to bring her back.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's at least interesting too, in a different way. Like the ending I wrote with my rewrite, I like, but in a darker, more nihilistic ending.
Yeah, it's a darker kind of devoid of hope.
Right. It's a much more voidy ending, and I'm totally cool with that. I think that's a more he didn't actually learn anything. But the movie's ending version of that is just now they're all dead.
Right.
But it's not interesting. Like it's not.
Well, the movie's version is just like this entity or evilness or whatever just kills them all.
Yeah.
And that's not interesting any way you slice it.
No, it's just like now they're all dead. Yeah. Or even if it's not some entity, even if it's somehow them, like what's the message there that they all killed each other? Like,
yeah, it's not interesting.
No, it's just not and then they're the kid. Like I understand why they thought and then they all come out and they're all dead, and then they come up and the kid who we thought was safe, nope, haha, that's super dark. It's like
somebody should have reached across the writing table and slapped the
like yeah, sure, it's like depressing, kind of, but it's not like
it's like
interesting.
edgy.
Yeah, it's like edgy, dark, but it's not like interesting.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you thought this character had learned a lesson through this whole 500-page book about how to deal with life. No, or how to deal with death and let go and that sort of thing. False. Nope. That's the message for you, motherfucker, but not this guy in the book. He doesn't get a happy ending. Screw you. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And
that's a more interesting way to do horror.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because then again, watching this movie again. Here's a good way to put it. At the end of the book, in the end of Pet Sematary, the book, based on the ending you described, I as the reader go, well, shit. I think about it and I reflect and go, man, he didn't learn his lesson. I'm going to take in what I learned here from this book about the wrong way to deal with death and loss.
Yeah.
That's the wrong way to deal with it. That's how some people deal with it. It's the wrong way. What is the message I'm getting from the movie?
Well, it's nothing because they're not dealing with it anyway.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Is that like, so that is kind of the goal of the movie at one point is, because again, they bring it up a million times thematically, like the mom not being able to deal with death and the dad saying, I just wanted more time with the daughter. That's why I brought her back. I just wanted more time with her. But then when we get that ending, what am I supposed to get from the fact that because he was going to kill her. He was going to do that, but then he gets killed.
And I almost feel like they started to do that. And then like some executive or something came in halfway through filming and was like, yeah, we need to make this more of a horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like that at times. Like there are definitely elements that were potentially like reshot to make it creepier. Yeah. To like make it more of a horror film. But so yeah, I'm wondering because then again, going back to what I'm saying, as a movie, just watching the movie, what I get out of it is, okay, don't deal with death this way, because if you do, your family will murder you. Will come back from the dead and murder you. Like, it just doesn't have the same resonance that the book, based on your description of it, has. It just didn't resonate with me at all. But all right, let's do. That was it, right?
Yeah.
Let's do better in the movie.
My life has taught me one lesson, Hugo, and not the one I thought it would. Happy endings only happen in the movies.
All right. So I have two things here. One is, like I said, I don't really mind switching the role of the resurrected child from Gage to Ellie. I think an older actor can do more. So from a practical perspective, I get that.
Yeah.
I don't really think it's a better or a worse change. It just kind of is.
I think it's a better change in the like you said, practically for a film. I don't know thematically or story-wise if it's any better or worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The book also has this whole backstory where Lewis doesn't get along with Rachel's father, which was an okay and understandable cut for the movie. I think it moves things along by eliminating a side plot.
Yeah, that seems unnecessary.
Yeah. I mean, we learn a little bit more about Lewis through that, but I don't think we really needed it per se.
Was there anything real quick that the movie nailed? We don't have that section in here. But
as I expected, practically perfect in every way.
I mean, there's a cat.
Boom! Movie nailed it. There's a cat. General notes. Let's talk about it.
I don't really have, I stopped taking notes on my phone partway through this movie.
Yeah.
I was trying to do it very carefully. I had, like, the brightness turned all the way down, and I had night mode on, and it was, like, under my sweater. But I stopped taking notes because it was all just so different and awful.
Yeah.
I was like, this is pointless.
Yeah.
But, if you do go to see this movie, be on the lookout. When Rachel is at her parents' house close to the end, they show this brief shot of the ugliest fucking portrait of Rachel and her sister. It's like the ugliest oil pastel scrawl, and they both look like monsters. And I was like, I understand from like a aesthetic like mood setting why you would want a really ugly scrawl demon portrait of your children in this house, but like
in universe, it's a little...
like in universe, I was kind of like, no parent would keep that on the wall.
Right.
It's ugly.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that.
I didn't see that, but my only general note was like, man, this movie isn't even scary.
Yeah.
For a horror movie, I'm not scared. I'm just bored.
Yeah.
Like it had a couple moments where I was scary in the sense that I knew a jump scare was coming.
Right.
And so I'm like sitting there waiting for it, and then it happens and I'm like, ugh. But even those, it's like I'm not a big fan of jump scares, but if you're gonna do them, at least make them so I don't know they're coming.
Exactly.
Like it's a jump scare that it kind of works only in the sense that like you don't know exactly when it's coming, but every single one of them in this movie, I knew it was about to happen when it happened. And like, I appreciate that in the sense that like, I don't really like jump scares. So I'm like, glad I didn't have to deal with a bunch like out of nowhere. But like for people that like horror movies, I feel like this would be very boring. Like if it was boring for me as somebody who doesn't.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like I can imagine somebody who's like super into horror movies and knows all the tropes and knows everything, like, you know, and is kind of steeped in all the in the world of horror. I feel like this would be incredibly boring. I could be wrong, but it just struck me as like it would be wildly like not scary. But I don't know.
Do you want to go back to our homework?
Yeah, let's talk about the
real
homework from the prequel, which was to decide which
variation of the came back wrong trope. So I'll run through those again real quick. We had Soulless Shell, where they come back but without their soul. We have Damaged Soul, where the soul does come back, but it has been damaged in some way, maybe leading to madness or depression. We had Monster from Beyond the Veil, where they come back as a demon or a monster of some sort, bent on destruction. We have Inhuman Human, where the soul comes back just fine, but the body is a wreck. And we have Destination Host Unreachable, where the soul comes back, the body comes back, but due to the rules of the universe, the resurrector and the resurrectee cannot exist on the same plane.
Yeah. Okay. So, on the movie alone, I would say, just mainly speaking in regards to the girl, I think there's different things for different things in the book. For the girl in the movie, I think it's like 3 of them.
Okay.
One, damaged soul, because she's still somewhat there.
Yeah, she seems like she's still her.
To some extent. A little bit.
Yeah.
Again, she still dances, like she still does ballet for a bit and blah, blah, blah. But she is like, she decays over the course of the final act of the movie from like, kind of like her and a little off, which I would definitely put in sort of the damaged soul category, into more, she then clearly kind of deteriorates into the a monster from beyond, where she is some sort of like demon and seemingly possessed or something strange going on, where she has like strength beyond that of a 6-year-old and that sort of thing. And like she's saying all these weird things to people that she would never, like, you know what I mean? It's not just like she's depressed or sad or like angry. It's like she has some other extra level of malevolence inside of her. And then also Inhuman Human, because she does come back. Like she has the staples on her head up from like where her head was busted open when she got hit by the truck, and like so she has the injury still. Yeah. So I guess it's not the exact right thing, but she doesn't come back whole. Like her body doesn't come back fine. It comes back a little bit messed up, similar to the cat. Like kind of just in the state it was when you brought them, like the injuries they had when they died, kind of come back with those, and like her hair falls out and stuff like that. So a little bit of all 3, I think, kind of mixed in, and then obviously not Destination Host Unknown, because they're interacting.
That's not a thing in this. Yeah, I don't think.
No, but that's just the girl in the movie. Right.
The book, I think, leans way more to Monster from Beyond the Veil. Yeah. Clearly, like, it's some kind of entity, like, using their resurrected bodies. For animals, maybe that, or maybe like soulless shell a little bit.
When you described the dog, that's why what I was kind of alluding to earlier.
Yeah.
When you mentioned his dog coming back kind of dumb and just like that, kind of fits in with that category.
And that actually a change from the book to the movie, the inhuman human aspect of it. In the book, it's made pretty clear that they come back more or less fine. Like, if they had injuries, you can see, like, maybe some scars.
Huh, interesting.
But they don't come back, like, still really damaged.
Yeah, in the movie, they're pretty much seemingly like whatever, like I said, whatever state they were in when they died.
Yeah.
And maybe even deteriorating slightly. And I get why they would do that in a visual medium to make them creepier. Like, the little girl looks kind of corpsey, like, and that's a little creepier than this if she looks like a little girl with, like, a scar. But... So I think I understand that change, at least for a visual medium. So, all right, let's do the final verdict.
Now, are you ready for your sentence?
Sentence? But there must be a verdict first.
Sentence first, verdict afterward.
So this will shock everyone, but the book was better. I found the book to be pretty entertaining and sometimes creepy. My edition was just shy of 400 pages. And to be honest, you could probably eliminate around 100 of them and tell a better, more effective story. Like, this book, like, nothing happened for, like, the first 50 pages, and then all of the sudden it went bonkers insane.
Yeah.
But I did like the book. I liked kind of the slow burn. I liked the different layers of story that you kind of had to dig through.
Yeah.
But here's the other important thing to note. The ideas in the book, like the ideas of things coming back from the dead all wrong, the cursed Indian burial ground, none of that stuff is unique.
No.
Like, it's not new. It's not groundbreaking.
No.
But the movie managed to take an already kind of cliche story and make it even more generic and cliche. Like, I don't think the movie really understood what kind of horror story it was telling. Like, it was more like a horror trope stew than anything else. And it totally misses the point of the book. Like, the whole point in the book is that the villain is death.
Yeah.
It's not zombie family little girl.
No.
The villain is death. It's the horror of death.
Yeah.
And like, knowing that no matter what you do, this horror is coming from you. You can live the healthiest lifestyle and still get cancer.
Yeah.
You can be the most careful driver and still get taken out by a truck.
Yeah.
Like, it's this creeping horror that grows throughout the entire book.
Yeah.
And like we said, I think the movie's biggest crime is that it's not scary. It's boring. There are some movie genres that can get away with being kind of boring, but horror is not one of them. I think arguably the creepiest imagery was the kids in masks in the funeral procession to the Pet Sematary, which was made much more of in the promotional material.
Yeah.
But we literally only see them once in the actual movie. They're just in that one beginning scene.
Yeah.
I think potentially the scariest scene is Zelda falling down the dumbwaiter, but like you said, I was expecting it.
Yeah.
And I jumped because the noise was loud, but I was still expecting, like, I was fully expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say that the movie was cliche. Like, I'm not a horror movie person either. I've seen very few horror movies, but I was able to call every single horror beat that happened in this movie. There were no surprises.
Nope. When the mom wakes up from the nightmare at the end and then the daughter stands up with the knife and it's like,
Yeah.
Knew that is exactly what was going to happen.
I was sitting there in the theater like, jump scare in 3, 2, 1, boom.
There it is. Yeah. It literally just,
leaving the theater after seeing this, I felt a lot like I did after seeing The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Yeah.
I was confused. I was disappointed. I was a little shocked that something that big could end up that bad.
Yeah.
And, you know, the book was good generally, but but like it's not even necessarily something that I'd enthusiastically recommend. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, you have to read Pet Sematary, it's so good. But this movie.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. Yeah. My only other thing I would add is that I will say that in comparison to Crimes of Grindelwald, this thing is wildly less surprising to me, only because the budget was way less than I thought it was.
Yeah.
And as we discussed in the prequel episode, the filmmakers involved were people I have never heard of, who when I went through their IMDb had done one other movie. So it's not super surprising that they didn't like crush it. Whereas like, David Yates has a history, when he did Crimes of Grindelwald, had a history of making some pretty good Harry Potter, like relatively speaking, pretty good Harry Potter movies. And J.K. Rowling wrote it. So like, a little more expectation, but yeah, still, it's a little wild that it confused and disappointed.
I mean, you left the theater with me. I couldn't speak for a couple minutes.
You were definitely, dumbstruck by what you had just witnessed. So, all right, that is it for Pet Sematary. So that's spelled wrong, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing is like some kid spelled it
Yes.
wrong. Okay. I thought I was going crazy and didn't know how cemetery was spelled.
No, it's spelled wrong on purpose.
Okay. Weird.
It is kind of weird. It's weird because it's like a choice that doesn't really end up meaning anything.
I think it's just that Stephen King is like, yeah, creepy kid sign misspelled. That's creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. Or maybe he was high on cocaine at the time.
Probably was. This is from the 80s, right?
Maybe he thought this was how you spelled cemetery.
I wouldn't be. I mean, cemetery is not an easy word to spell, even
fair,
spelled correctly. But that's the thing. I think that's what made it even more confusing is that I always misspell cemetery. I put an A in when there's not. I think I always used to spell it Cematary or something. And isn't it all E's or something weird? Isn't it like CEME?
The last A is an A. It's CEMETARY.
Yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. But I feel like I've always misspelled it. I thought it was all E's. I don't know. I thought there was something weird where I always misspelled it. So then when I saw this, I'm like, am I still what is...
the original
it is all E's.
Is 1983.
It's all E's.
It's all E's.
That's what I'm saying.
Cemetery?
I used to spell it CEMETARY, and that's not right. It's CEMETERY, which is nuts to me.
All right.
It's nuts and not how words work, but like what...
Well, it is the way that words work in English.
Sure.
Because English is linguistic soup.
Right, I understand. I'm just saying, like, it seems wrong. Like, it feels wrong when you look at it.
It does.
But yeah.
I really feel like it's one of those that looks wrong no matter what you do.
That's what I mean.
So,
That's why I was like, maybe this is right. I don't know. Like, maybe, who knows? So I just had to ask and clarify that. But, all right. That's it. Our next episode. What's our next episode, Katie?
Our next episode is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That's right. I can't wait. I get to read one again finally.
Yeah, special surprise. We're doing a Switch episode.
Yeah.
Brian's gonna read.
I've read this. I've read all of them except for the final book, and I read most of that one, which is I think So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, maybe. But it's been a long time, and I don't remember anything about them. It's also going to be interesting because I'm pretty sure that this is one of those movies where they pull elements from like several of the books, and I'm only reading the first one. And now I have read those other ones before. Like I've read Restaurant at the End of the Universe, and I don't remember all their names, but I don't remember a lot about them. So we'll see. But I am going to reread Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, which is the first one. Galaxy, yeah. There's a podcast I listen to called Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, which is a play on that title, but it's to the universe instead of to the galaxy, so I always get it confused. Yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm going to read it, and then in 2 weeks we'll be talking about it. Next week we're going to have our preview episode. I got to figure out what we're going to learn about. Maybe Ed Norton. Not Ed Norton. Sam Rockwell. He's in that movie. Maybe it'd be interesting we talk about like all the different versions of this or something, because there's like radio plays and TV shows. It's like a million. Anyways, I'll think about it. That'll be in a week, and then a full episode in 2 weeks. Until that time, guys, gals, non-binary, and everybody else, if you could do us a favor, rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, or anywhere else you download and listen to our podcast. You can find us on all the social media platforms, and make sure to
keep reading books,
keep watching movies,
and keep being awesome.